Yeah, so thank you ever so much for Walk for inviting me, and for Jennifer for that really insightful kind of slide presentation around kind of metrics. In terms of what I'm going to be covering, I'm going to be covering that engagement with senior leaders right up to senior executives, almost to the CEO of our organization. I'm going to share some slides with you. I'm located in the southwest of England in a county called Devon. Now, I can see there's people from all over the world on the line. Quite often I get asked, is that anywhere near London? It's not. It's right in the foot of the UK. So if you were to give it a Google, we've only just gone off dial-up broadband. So yeah, for those of you who are old enough to remember dial-up, well, we're not really, but yeah, the internet is a bit slow. So let's share my screen. So loads. Okay. Fantastic. So everyone should be able to see my slides. We should be good to go. So yeah, if there is any questions, so my previous kind of history is, I'll just do a bit of an introduction to myself. So my name is Nick Brashier. Call me anything you want. I quite often get called Dan, and I don't know why. But yeah, my name is Nick, and my role within EDF is learning innovation lead. Now, quite a lot of people kind of look at me with a bit of a surprised look on their face. So my background is training and development. I was in that role for, well, how was I? About 10 years. I was in training for about 10 years. And then I moved into the learning innovation part. And what we do is we look at everything weird and wonderful when it comes to innovation to help support our people learn and grow. And that could be from day-to-day individuals working out in the field. And when we mean field, that could be going door to door, speaking to customers, looking at their meters, right up to nuclear power plants, wind turbines, all that type of thing. So I kind of look internally in terms of what we can innovate. Now, we've been on a real journey, and I want to bring that to life to you today. So our kind of focus for today's session is looking at the past, looking at the present, and also looking at the future of what we want to achieve using 360 technology, using virtual reality, augmented reality, and in partnership with Warp VR, and what that journey has looked like. Now, very similar to Jennifer, very kindly, we haven't planned this, but there's a couple of comments that you actually made, Jennifer, that tie in really nicely with what I'm going to be covering today. So there's some real synergies here. And similar to Jennifer, please feel free to email me or to contact me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have a conversation with anyone about any of the topics today. And likewise, if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. And I'll be very honest with you. And I'm going to bring this to life with stories, hopefully with a little bit of humor, and some kind of serious elements thrown in there as well. So let's get cracking. As we go through, looking at the past, where did it all begin? Now, I am quite an inquisitive person, shall I say? That's probably the best way to say it. And within my role, I am given quite a lot of freedom in terms of what I can explore, what I can look at, and what I can invest in. Now, just before the pandemic, I'm a big, avid, passionate kind of cyclist, both on the road and mountain biking. Now, I can see that we've got attendees from all over the globe. So hopefully there may be some fellow enthusiasts in those sports as well. I kind of noticed this big trend of 360 kind of GoPro videos using the GoPro Max. And I thought, oh, that looks incredible. So that was the idea. I thought, oh, could we utilize 360 video to bring to life some form of learning for our people, to empower them to learn and grow, to help them support and develop in their role in a day-to-day basis? Now, that was the idea. And then I think something that affected us all in a multitude of ways was COVID. That also opened up an opportunity for us. It was, again, I think it impacted us all, as I've mentioned, but the opportunity I saw, and there was a beautiful kind of case study, and I wasn't sure if anyone else has seen it. I think it was one of the New York museums that actually utilized 360 to bring to life their space. Because they couldn't get visitors going through the door, they utilized 360. And it was that Apple, that light bulb moment, all of a sudden hit me in the head thinking, we could do something here for our people when we are hopefully going to return to the office. So that was the opportunity. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, that is our senior exec team within VR headsets doing some weird and wonderful 360 learning is the hook. So how do I get these senior leaders involved in an idea that I've randomly created after watching some adrenaline-fueled YouTube videos on YouTube? It's weird, it's wonderful. But this is the process that we went through, what I went through. So when we look at the hook, as I said, I'm going to be very honest with you today in terms of how I've very much approached it and how the team have approached it. And again, feel free to question, to challenge, to agree in the comments. We were very much a kind of a team that quite often go to middle leaders, or we'll go to frontline leaders, because that's who we're exposed to quite often the majority of the time. So those that I interact with are those within those those brackets, those two boundaries. And this is quite traditional. Again, for the 10 years of training, I'd quite often find that I'd go to those same individuals across the same levels. And don't get me wrong, they get very passionate. You know, we've got 12,000 people within our organization, just within the UK. We've got over 100,000 globally. So these individuals make up a large proportion of our management kind of teams. But what I quite often found, and I don't know whether you found this as well, is it's great selling and planting the idea into these two levels, but trying to go up, sometimes there's just the ceiling that gets hit. And whether it's the idea is not necessarily pitched correctly, whether it's not necessarily sold in the right way or brought to life in a passionate way, it always seems to hit a particular level. And we'll get challenges. We'd have challenges of, actually, Nick, I don't think we've got the budget, or I don't think that's quite right, it doesn't quite tie in with what we're working on at the moment. So during the opportunity, so during COVID, I said to myself, do you know what? We're going to flip the triangle on its head completely. So I developed a 360 scenario. I'm based down in Exeter in Devon, as I've mentioned. I've got a office no more than 9 miles away. I don't know what that is in K, so I do apologise. 18K? I don't know. So 9 miles away from where I live at the moment. And I went in there and I've done some 360 filming, knowing that our people were just about to go back into the office. What I did is I went to my senior leader, who ties into one of the exec members. So I'm very fortunate in terms of I have a clear path to one of my senior leaders. And I said to him, his name was Ingo at the time, I said, Ingo, I've developed this. Have a look. So I showed it to him and he loved it. He went mad for it. He then took it to the exec member who sit within kind of the CEO and that particular level. So Simone Rossi and his level and his direct reports. And they loved it as well. And it started to plant a seed. It started to bring to life. And the next thing I knew, I just thought I need to do more with this. So what I specifically done, I took a leap of faith. I reached out to our chief people officer, Carol MacArthur, and with my senior leaders, blessing Ingo, and said, hey, Carol, I'd love to get you and your team together to go through some 360 learning within virtual reality and see what you think, get your feedback, get your honest views. And she was up for it. She loved it. She went through it. And do you know what? It always puts a smile on my face, because she was riding roller coasters in VR. She was looking at 360 videos. She was playing games, and it brought the technology and the fun with it. Now, one of the key kind of golden nuggets or suggestions that I'd always make to everyone is tie an emotion in with an experience, hopefully a positive emotion. And through that, we've really managed to find a way into our senior leadership team. That hasn't been easy. And, you know, we've got a series of business units that are still a little bit reluctant to kind of get involved in kind of more innovative technology, because they are a bit more risk adverse. But some of the elements that I covered off to kind of really get Carol, our chief people officer, involved is this. So the pitch. What we did, as I've mentioned, is I reached out to Carol and her team very early on to gauge and get insights around their feeling towards a project, looking to get them to be quite passionate about it and to start asking them, what is your business problem? Now, I know what it is, because we get objectives every single year that we have to kind of try and target, like a lot of us. But I asked them specifically, what do you need, or what are some of your problem areas? And they give us those elements. And we say, this technology could answer that, or leave that with me and I'll do some investigation. We ask them to be the enablers. We ask them to get involved and be our critical friend during a particular project or process. And this is what we've done during our 360 development with Warp as well. As I've mentioned, I've engaged them with the technology. It can be quite daunting. Again, my assumption is that there's a whole variety of ages and backgrounds within this kind of group that we're sharing today. And it is half the challenge I find is actually engaging individuals within the technology. So I didn't just showcase the technology, I sent it out to them. So as I say, cast your mind back, we mentioned around COVID, we were developing some of these various different elements during COVID. And what we did is I sent out VR headsets to the individuals. I'd done some filming of how to set them up, how to connect to Wi-Fi, all that good stuff. And I let them get their hands on. As I said, I let them explore it. Take an hour, 2 hours out of their time to do it. And the resounding feeling and sense of fun was felt within a virtual room after we kind of came back together again. It was really, really fascinating. And you know what? There was a handful of individuals out of those 12, that group of 12, that openly admitted that they didn't even watch the video, that they switched the VR headset on and they got lost. But they then went back to the guides to switch it on and then they were flying. So again, it's allowing individuals to kind of really get their hands on. And with that, what we've done, so that was what, 2020, 21? Again, years feel like they blur into one. We've kept bringing them on that journey. So they saw that early development. They saw us just walking around, touring our various buildings, trying to empower our people to come back to work, to make sure that they feel comfortable, that we try and relieve any anxiety, which again was all about that mental health well-being and physical well-being. That's a real center, not only within COVID, but post-COVID as well. And we kept them on that journey. We were sharing progress with them. We were giving them updates. We quite often get invited back to their meetings now to discuss future innovative technology, which is really exciting. And if they don't, what we do is we create a showcase event. And I'm going to show you a few slides of what we're doing now. And we're going to create another showcase event and get their feedback and get their insights and really put that flag in the ground, as it says there, to say, this is what we're doing. What do you think? Going back to being that critical friend and engaging them on that journey. And I love this, it's that emotional connection. They feel valued and they feel like they have been brought on this emotional roller coaster, excuse the pun, of a journey to this point, and they feel part of it. But what we also do is we don't just limit it within one particular technology. We engage them with all of the technologies that we're looking at. So I know we're working inside with Warp VR, but we're also doing some weird and wonderful things with AI, with mixed reality, with chatbots, with animations, and we showcase everything that we're doing because again, it's showcasing our diversity of what we can do within this collective and within this group. So I mentioned to you that showcase piece. Now, you'll notice that there's two kind of elements here, and I'm really hoping that my internet holds up. I did make the joke about being on slow broadband. I am on very slow broadband, so I am really hoping that I can show you some cool stuff today. So we've partnered. What we've done is we've partnered with a particular power station within the UK, which is Hartlepool Power Station, which is kind of up towards Newcastle, towards the border of Scotland, kind of up that way. I'd say the spine. So if you imagine the spine of the UK, it's kind of up towards one of the top right-hand corners. Now, we worked alongside them. We held an innovation session with their senior leaders and their station director. So the most senior person on campus was there and fed in some weird and wonderful problems. So again, we flipped the triangle round. A couple of them were new inductors or new inductees. They were saying, yeah, you know, we have some new engineers that start quite regularly and we can't take them everywhere. What would be amazing is if we could involve or evolve and film various different locations and bring to life a particular area of the plant. So that's what we did. The senior leaders said what they wanted and we delivered. And that's the one in the top left-hand corner, just using a GoPro. Bottom right-hand corner, we went back up at the beginning of the year and they said, Nick, we're going to be changing a whole load of these engines in our gas turbine hall. Can I get you to film them pre and post? And we can try and, back to Jennifer, create some efficiencies in terms of what did we learn when we took this one engine out. Let's film it, let's reiterate, let's improve, let's speed up the process within VR, etc. And that's the bottom right-hand corner. 2 different cameras that we used, GoPro 360, cheap and cheerful, quick and easy. In the top left, we used the InstaPro version V2, is it? In the bottom right-hand corner, a bit more lumpy, looks like something out of Star Wars, but again, it's delivered some fantastic results for us. Now, behind the scenes, the flow, and I'm hoping majority of us on the call have seen kind of the warp builder. The flow is pretty simple. It's kind of point A to point B with a couple of decision points, but you know what? They loved it. Sometimes simplicity is key when we're engaging senior leaders, and when you bring it to life, it just click, 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 and flow. The bottom right-hand symbols is we're finding that a lot of people are loving the VR headset, but also their phone as well. They're utilizing the kind of the app to kind of really showcase it, and they love that element of being able to look around. Just going to show you a video, and this is technology is working, fingers crossed. And I'm going to just turn the sound down. Now, I'm hoping that it's not lagging too much, but I'll try and describe it to you if my Wi-Fi is horrendous. We are currently walking across the top of the reactors. Now, you can't see it because I've just taken a screenshot, well, a screen recording of this particular video, but we're actually walking across the pile cap. So you see that almost those hexagonal shapes below my feet, and if I just pause it, almost like I've practiced, 12 meters below where I'm standing is where the magic happens, is where the reactions happen, it's where the heat's produced, it's kind of that, it's almost the heart of the power station. Now you can't see it, but we've actually got one of the senior safety leaders to my left-hand side who's giving me the tour, who's watching me film, who's watching me stop, start, pause. They're asking questions. He was very inquisitive, and I wanted a senior leader to come out with us and to walk the recording effectively and bring it to life. I'm a firm believer, and this sounds very Disney, seeing is believing. So putting not only the technology, but also how you do it in front of somebody, specifically senior leaders, it plants that seed, as I've mentioned, and it brings to life what you're trying to do. So again, happy to talk about this in terms of questions or post the event. I think I've only got a handful of minutes, so I can't linger too much. So that was the first thing that we did as we went through. The second one, when we went up at the beginning of the year, was a bit more complex. As you see, it's not just the flow, it's kind of looking a bit left, a bit right. It starts to look like London's tube map, a bit spaghetti junction, with everything connected with each other. Now, what you'll notice is a lot of people now like the desktop app, so they can see it right in front of them. They like the VR, and they're still loving the mobile phone as well. So as we go through, if I just skip to roughly, just there. Again, almost like I filmed it, practiced it. What you'll notice as we go through, I set up static images. Now, in front of us, as I said, hopefully there isn't much of a lag on my internet. You'll notice a Rolls-Royce engine. I did ask if I could have one of those badges, and they said no. A bit gutted. But these engines need a huge overhaul and service this year. As I've mentioned, going back to Jennifer's point in terms of that process of speeding up, cost saving, efficiency, we're getting back up invited mid-June to do some more recording. So when they're stripping it, we're going to record it. When they're putting it back together, we're going to record it. And we're going to try and find out some efficiencies and some process to speed up this element. But again, a senior leader was with me at this point. I was talking through the technology. I was showing them how easy it was. I even talked about the cost of it, but they said that's nothing compared to a mistake, to somebody hurting themselves, to having another 2 weeks off because somebody's forgotten to put one bolt in, or they haven't done it up correctly. So again, you can have these really engaging conversations with what the potential future has within this technology. Got a couple of minutes left. As you can tell, I get very passionate about this, and hopefully it's all made sense. But going from start to finish, the key thing, as I've always mentioned, is bringing them on that journey. And when we get to the end of a journey or a project and we deliver a proof of concept, we always ask for feedback. We always start to look at the impact. So what has this solution had on that individual, the team, or the area? And what we do is we do a repeat plus. That sounds really quite cheesy, but we repeat it, but we make our own efficiencies. So we learn from when we're doing some filming, we learn from the site, and it's almost that internal reflection of how do we repeat this but make it better. Again, we're iterating, we're improving, and we're improving. And two things that are on our horizon map for this year is more safety procedures. So we've got some weird and wonderful dummies, emergency procedures that we're going to try and film and put in that immersive environment, again, to test people's learning. And a big shout out to Warp, because I love the human skills element, you know, the one that they filmed in the EE shop, because we're going to do something similar around equity, diversity, and inclusion, and using our people, real life scenarios to connect with people on an emotional level through Warp VR. And again, bringing the senior leaders on the journey and trying to identify with them what they want to focus on, what are their pinch points, and how do we look to solve it using Warp and 360 video and virtual reality. That, I think, is time. So I'll just minimize my screen. Just to let you know, I did sort out all of my folders as well, because I thought it'd make people a heart attack before because all my files were everywhere. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Hey Nick, thank you so much. Great talk. I already saw a question coming in. I also had a question myself, so let's pop that one first up.
Okay.
And that was, with senior leadership, was it initially more the engagement and excitement that led to the green light, or was it the use case or showcase?
Oh, very good question. So I think, I don't want to offend any senior leaders who might be on the call. I think it was more of the showcase. It was more post. So I don't want to say this, but I kind of say it tongue in cheek. Senior leaders can be quite skeptical of new technology. You know, I've seen it before, I've seen this, but it's really showcasing it for them. And what we try and do is, before we go and showcase it, it sounds really bad, but we kind of go into the business area and understand their business problems. So we do a little bit of homework, we do a little bit of research, identify a business problem, create a proof of concept and show it to them. Oh, that's our business problem. So by showcasing it based on something that they have or a problem that they have, really kind of loops back around to that engagement and to that excitement. So yeah, I'd always say with that, showcase first, but be savvy and clever with what you showcase.
Thanks. Another question coming up. How did you film the very first product you showed to senior management? Did you use a specific camera?
I did, yes. I was looking to my left, it's not there, but I just used the GoPro Max 360. Again, like many of us and within these technologies, cost can be quite a bit of an issue. And I think if you were to just buy GoPro Max, I think they're £300-400, if not cheaper. So yeah, we just use the GoPro Max 360. Yeah, some pain points in terms of the editing, but it's relatively quick and relatively straightforward and cheap. So that's how we attacked it, and it worked really well for the kind of rough and ready proof of concepts.
Yeah, you have lots of cameras in that price range, right? And they're very easy to operate. Yeah. Last question is: did you film people as well as the environment during the showcase? I think.
Oh, good question. Did we film people? So we have filmed people, yes. In terms of a scenario that I know that many of us may have created or seen, not in terms of an immersive, engaged way, but almost as background. So we've filmed people just kind of going about their day-to-day roles, not specific scenarios or questions or different routes. So yes, we film people, but not specific scenarios or different ways.
Yeah. And just wondering myself, is it important to that there is a clear ROI, return of investment, when you're starting with VR training, you think?
Interesting. Yes. I mean, I think there's always something that we target, and it could be quite high level ROI. So you might need to do quite a few calculations to get there. But say, for example, the one that you'd have seen around the tour, and indeed the motor exchange, quite often we'll ask, how much is that going to cost you? It's going to cost us X. Okay, fantastic. So if we could improve efficiency by even 10% by filming, it's going to save Y. Yeah. And that's kind of that initial conversation that we kind of talk about. So yeah, we kind of discuss it very early on, and what that then goes to deliver might be different, it might be more, it might be less, but we still have that initial conversation around it. It's not just here's a 360 video, crack on and use it. We try and tie it back in, as you said, with some form of ROI.
Yeah, I see. Time's up, Nick. Thank you so much for your great talk, and hopefully see you in the round tables.